Okay, so hello my people over there. Today I'm going to be doing you some speech recognition writing and we are gonna continue the project English Mastery over here and I'm going to ask you this question. What do you see when you go outside? What defines your culture? What defines your living environment? It's a really hard question because you could say that, yeah, people are individuals and they live different kind of lives, but still you can kind of gather that basic mindset of the people around you. And then there are those few that can rise above the herd. And I mean few. Okay. So, are you one of those few people? Are you one of those few people or are you one of those many people? Many people. Today I again did this kind of marketing run. I call these marketing runs, but really they are just I walk around and I talk to people and I tell about Truth Detective channel and I talk to all kinds of human beings today and yeah. Uh, how would I define this? I have hard time finding kind of passion in people. I feel that I find a lot of people that are not very passionate about life, that don't have that kind of oomph that I have. That kind of stuff. That's what I feel the most, like passionless people, like people that don't have any, and there's no there was this book, there was this self-help book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in the book Napoleon Hill taught me about enthusiasm and burning desire. And I feel that these are so rare qualities in people that if you have them, you're probably going to noticed when you, what word would you use, like you embody them, embody them. You understand that. That's what I'm really looking for. I have found some people, I have seen some people that are like that, but I'm not really talking about skills over here only, I'm not really talking about that. I have seen, if I go back this year, and I really think the percentage of people that have been those passionate type of people, I would say that it's about 5% out of all the hundreds of people I have talked to. Passion is pretty rare. but they do exist. Okay. And why is that? Um, First of all, I feel that it's really a cultural thing. But when you live inside the box, you don't really understand how the like you don't really understand how the culture kind of brainwashes you to believe that this is life, even though it's not life. It's just your life. You have to understand that if your culture has taught you that this is the way that you should live your life, it's not really the way life is. It's just that your life is this way. That it's not life that you are living, it's just a way of living, a style of living. And you can change it. And the funny thing is that really, when you think about it, uh, people are kind of, when you change yourself, you also have to change your culture at the same. You kind of have to deprogram yourself. If you want to change yourself in a culture that celebrates these stupidities, like for example in the Finnish culture, the things that are celebrated, then you have to deprogram yourself. Do you understand? You have been programmed. You have been programmed to believe all kinds of shit, and you have to deprogram yourself and find those people that are following a different program in their life. Okay. So I feel that there's the and I feel that the culture at the moment I live in is kind of divided between the pleasure seekers and the physical body, addicts, or physical appearance. I feel that it's a very, like a physical type of like culture. The way the like the Finnish culture. It's hard to find that. That hard to find that. The philosopher, or it's hard to find that. Spiritual human being. It's hard to find that. It's hard to find that guru. Like for example in Finland. Yeah, in Finland you want to find a guru. Good luck with that. You won't find one. There's probably nobody that can guide you on your spirituality and your spiritual development. Oh, there might be. Okay, so now we're going to ask this hard kind of question. What would be the ways you could find those people that could help you progress in your life or in your career? Does it really have to come from the outside, or can you just do this on your own? I ask a lot of questions from people, and it's one of those things that I have kind of realized, because for example, most of the cyclists, they are really hard to talk to, even though I have a background in cycling, and it's really hard to start conversations with cyclists, because I'm no longer in that game, but I know that in those dudes, there's a lot of talent in many cycling, like this semi professional, like this competitive cycling type of like thing. There's a lot of talent in those dudes. It's a sport that a lot of skilled people do. But it's hard to talk to those people. Like, how do you start conversations? They go so fast. It's the same thing with people that are in the cars. You see some dude speeding by with his Tesla car. And you're kind of like, I really hope I could like ask somebody like that. Some questions about life. But he's going so freaking fast that there's no way. So, yeah. And I feel that it's it's probably the way that in some careers it's really easy to become a little antisocial and to just, you know, perform your work and job and then speed home with your fast car and not really open your mind to anything else. You're kind of living in a bubble. And that's what I really feel like, that yeah, I'm interested in some organizations like the Freemasons because of this. I have, Finland is Finland. Let's start with the fact that Finland is a Christian country. There's not a lot of happening with other religions and other religious beliefs over here. You won't find any Wiccan temples or even Buddhist temples, uh, or probably even mosques in this country. It's very geared towards geared towards Christianity. And Finnish people are not very Christian at the moment. They are becoming less and less Christian. So Finlandia is kind of losing all of its like spirituality. You could say. But then in every culture, even though the culture might not be very spiritual, there's always the New Agers. There are always the New Agers and the spiritual people and those kind of dudes that have their one foot in the spiritual world and one foot in the real world, or let's say physical. That kind of stuff. But the problem is that usually with these kind of people, there's usually some overlap with the drug scene and that kind of stuff. So really, it's for me so hard to find a community I could fit into. Almost impossible. And I'm kind of building that kind of community over here on YouTube. But it's still, I'm not really catering to any particular human being. I feel that what I have taught in my past have been universal truths that have never been introduced to Finnish culture. And that most people don't give a rat's shit about. Yeah, they just don't care about this stuff, They don't care. For example, the Christians I have talked to, I have kind of gained that they're almost the least spiritual people I have taught. Like, Yeah, like yeah, and like the regular people, they don't have any spiritual values or qualities in them. But then again, the mainstream religions, they are kind of the same. They don't teach you any skills. They don't teach you anything. They don't teach you any freaking shit about this. It's just yeah, it's just that kind of yeah. I don't know. It won't get you spiritually developed. It's I feel it's kind of worthless, but yeah. Uh, so where do you find this kind of thing? I am kind of interested, in theosophy. I was in theosophical. I was watching a lot of Theosophical Society videos. Do you know about theosophy? Yeah, that kind of stuff. You start to talk about theosophy, and it like people are like, "You mean Taylor Swift?" No, Theosophical Society. Uh, it's a spiritual. How would you say it? Like what it is? Theosophy is not a religion. Yeah, it's a spirit unification of all kinds of weird beliefs. It's more theological in its nature and not so religious. I'm interested in that. I'm also interested in Freemasons. I actually contacted, the Finnish, in the capital city, the Freemasons. I have no idea if anything is going to come out of it. I know that there's a lot of a Freemasonic lodge in my town. I'm not really sure where it is, but I'm sure there are Freemasons in my town, and I'm kind of thinking that how I could like, then there are, that like yeah, there are these, but I don't know what kind of people you would meet there, and I just feel that um, every social interaction you have kind of takes you to that next kind of. It kind of helps you, you gain some valuable skills, through it. But I still feel that I'm trying to find a way out of my like immediate living environment, and I'm trying to find those people that kind of like get it, like yeah, this guy, yeah, we could like yeah, that kind of stuff. And it's hard, I'm going to say that it's freaking hard. So what if you made your own group or religion, whatever it was? What would it entail? This whole thing I'm doing over here on YouTube, it's kind of a multifaceted approach, because I did the the self-realization quest. Of course, you can never really finish what that stuff. But I gained some enlightenment experiences. I did a lot of meditation. Actually, I did so much meditation that nowadays, it's kind of hard for me to meditate because of my back. I get a lot of back pains actually in meditation nowadays. I did like 3,000 hours of meditation. So yeah, I kind of know the territory. I know the Buddhist texts, and yeah, I read the Quran, and I have read, I've read some of the Bible, but I feel that the Bible is kind of, it's not very good book. I feel that it's not. it's not a great book, you know. Like a lot of people in the modern age have written better books than the Bible. Yeah, and then yeah, I feel the Quran is like much more like straight to the point and much more clear in the way it has been written, and much well actually written book. And you know, Buddhist texts are kind of, you know, they are pretty repetitive, you know, but they are still pretty, yeah, interesting. You know, the Pali Canon is like, if you read only what the Buddha said, then Buddhist texts are great. But when you start to dwell like out of that stuff, I would say that there are some Buddhist texts that are really interesting. For example, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you know. And then some of the most interesting books I have read also was there was this book by Manly P. Hall called Secret Teachings of All Ages. That is kind of the Freemasonic, you know, like thought about religion. And yeah, you know, Freemasons and Theosophical Society have a lot in common. You know, they are more open, and you know, Freemasons are not so. Freemasons is anti-ideological. You know, they are trying to rise above that. You know, rise above the differences. You know, and that's probably why they have so much. You know, that kind of power in them. They can think in that, you know, kind of. There was this dude, you know, that talked. Have you ever heard about spiral dynamics? There was this dude that talked about spiral dynamics on the internet called Actualized, but spiral dynamics is actually a way of thinking about consciousness development, and there are books about spiral dynamics, and spiral dynamics deals with consciousness development on the individual and on the collective level, and how the red, blue, yellow, orange, and green levels of spiral dynamics development differentiate from each other, or like turquoise. Uh, and he kind of, if I explain this to you over here, he kind of explained the because these shape your values, you know, the spiral dynamic spiral, it shapes your values, and orange is the third level, and you could say that red countries, they are like maybe the, like at the moment in the world, they are like maybe some countries in Middle East and some African countries, like countries that have you know, this tribal warfare type of stuff, and uh, this kind of, they can be at the red level of spirit of this spiral dynamics development. Then there's blue, spiral dynamics blue, and that's more, you know, that's where the civilizations come in, and organized religion is born over here. In the purple, which is even lower than this, the purple is kind of your, well, it's the tribe, and it's the tribe and tribes beliefs. So these are very isolated tribes. For example, this kind of like magical thinking, and if you take, for example, psychedelics, you descend kind of in this spiral to this purple type of consciousness state, and that's you have to understand that if you come, for example, from an orange culture, for example, this would entail some countries like, you know, this is all about business technology, about, you know, yeah, and you could say that law really starts in the blue, and organized religion. and this is kind of the safety net, you know, that this is where the safety comes, you know, in the blue. But then comes orange, and then there is yellow, and the yellow is really a hard stage. For example, in the mainstream, you know, politics and mainstream media, mainstream society, you won't find any yellow messages probably, because it's too hard to think in the yellow consciousness way, because you have to have some, you know, for I would say that the yellow level is it's kind of modular in the it's a modular way of being. And for example, if I think about Truth Detective, it required for me to become Spiral Dynamics level yellow in some ways, in my thinking, to like get to this level. But I feel that a lot of stuff actually in this modern age, it's kind of a blend between these three, and then we have some of this, even in the modern age, if you really like find the people. So if we are making for you a map like what you should go for, then I'm going to say that you're gonna find these people, you're gonna find these type of spiral dynamics people very easily. Orange people exist all everywhere. Blue people also exist a lot, you know, like, you know, there's uh, like organized religion and law, you know, you understand that these kind of people exist a lot. These people are actually quite rare. You might find this in like criminal gangs, you know. Maybe that, you know, the criminal world is kind of like this. They follow the same values that come at this level. And then you might find this kind of thinking. For example, if you really delve into this, like, you know, uh, psychedelics and I don't know, all kinds of new age stuff, you might find people that are kind of, you know, playing between this and this, and they are kind of confronted by the blue level people and orange level people also. And I would say that there's not bound to be a lot of red in those people. So then there's the green, and the green is kind of the green is kind of, you know, well it's freaking green, you know. It's kind of, you know, it's you could say it's a cohesive and co co he cohesive and heart centered, like mindset to life. You know, it's, you know, I would say that individual goes through these levels, and he has to like integrate all the teachings. But the problem is that if you are born in an orange society, there's a lot of purple stuff if you're in your subconscious mind. This is all subconscious. But in the tribes, you know, for example, when they use ayahuasca and all the kind of shit like that, they understand the territory. But for us, you know, we just dive into it, and all of a sudden something bad happens, you know, because we don't understand this level of consciousness. But you can tap into this level of consciousness through some means, you know. And the blue level of the organized religion wanted to like exterminate all of this, you know, all of this stuff, you know, all the shamanic thinking and all the shamanic thought and that kind of stuff, because they had to. But the problem is that they are just fighting against their own subconscious mind and repressing the magical in their life. You know, they won't get to the level that you have seen in my channel, for example. They won't manifest the kind of stuff I've been able to do, or some other dudes. They won't be able to do that, because you have to go back and you have to go forward at the same time. So yellow is very you could say that, like, you know, yellow is very analytical, and modular, and also individualistic. So all of these levels are these are, you could say that the purple level is very like group based, and the red level is really more individual. That it's kind of the strongest monkey wins type of stuff, and the blue level is really organized, and it's a group think type of thing. Orange is really individualistic, and I would say that the school system at the moment, it kind of emphasizes the values of the orange spiral dynamics level and the green, and they don't really tap into the yellow potential in people because it's so advanced in the, I would say, the ego attachment level, because the society is kind of built around this idea, in the way that we own capital, real estate, and that kind of stuff. If you are thinking that, does this mean that communism, for example, was like green, then no, no, actually, it doesn't mean that, but it had some green in it. It had some green values in it, but it was operating like this, more like this, and like this. So then we kind of got this, this like capitalistic society that is about individualism and technology and organized business and that kind of stuff. And you are born into this. This is where you are born if you are living in the first world, probably. You might have a family that follows the values of a blue, this level of consciousness, and you're going to have some, maybe a lot of these conflicts in your subconscious mind. And if you are faced with people that are purple, you're not gonna like them. If you're faced with people that are red, you're not gonna understand that kind of world. You won't probably get into that kind of world. But then again, you might. And then if you think that, like this kind of a person, he goes to save the world, in some countries like this, he can't, or she can't really understand the way of those people, like how they think, because it's kind of different. You have to understand that how the ego kind of like structures itself. And then we get to like the turquoise. And turquoise is really more, turquoise is self-realizational level. You would say that in turquoise, individuals and even collectives become enlightened. And what does that mean? Well, that means that they lose their, ego boundaries. If the whole society is kind of built around enforcing your ego boundaries, which is really understandable in some ways, but it could be otherwise, then you could say that how would a turquoise society even look like? Well, that kind of society doesn't exist on planet Earth at the moment, and it probably won't exist in planet Earth for a long time. It won't happen. But there are turquoise societies in outer space, and if you don't believe me, then I can say that I have seen those. And how did I see those? Well, it's kind of related to this purple level. Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem. You're born into this, and all of a sudden you go into this. You gain some experiences to prove you this, and you are kind of like lost. You are like what? Like whoa? Like what? Like if you have never heard of this stuff, you won't even understand what this is all about. But this is kind of a way to understand how your mind and how your, like, I would say, ego, how you transcend your ego, and how does the mind transform in the process of you transcending your ego. And I would say that the Freemasons are here. The Freemasons are here and here, and they have values that are like this. You know, they kind of have. I would say they have kind of. They are kind of, you know, tapping into all of these, and that's why they are to me so interesting, because I don't see that in almost anybody. And I would really want to meet Freemasons, because I have seen from the organization and the writings of Freemasons and that they are this way, you know, that they have a green value in the sense that they are cohesive, they are heart-centered, but the yellow analytical level, it proves why they can like work as groups so well. They can like rise above from their, you know, whatever it is. And if you're thinking about life in this way, that I have gotten out of life these cards that I have to play some way in my life and win or lose, then you are not thinking in the yellow analytical spiral dynamics level yet. You are identified with your cards, so to say. So what I'm looking for in people is just this, and you kind of in many ways you have to deprogram yourself from the society's values that you have been kind of brainwashed in, and you have to really separate yourself from the herd and from the mass to gain this kind of freedom of thinking, you know. I would say that, for example, you know, like if we think about, for example, like Buddhism, is it like a blue level thing, you know? Is this really only about like enlightenment then? Yeah, it's a hard thing, but you can read about it. If you haven't like heard about spiral dynamics, then you can read about it. I just taught you some things I remember. So if we are kind of complaining over here about these things, then we need a kind of a map. Then what are we looking for? You are we, you know, you could write over here organized crime. Organized crime is over here, and you could say that organized crimes also fuels kind of the drug trade, and people that are orange in their kind of, you know, psychological makeup are going to experience some purple level consciousness things because of maybe drugs that have been like how do you say it, spread by the organized crime. So you see how it kind of goes to every level, and yeah, you really have to understand this. So then in the videos, you know, that the actualized dude did about this, he talked about all of the people that were on these levels, you know, and like who were, for example, like if you think about like Steve Jobs, for example, he was really an orange level businessman, but he had some green values in him, and yet he had some like yellow level thinking to be able to like do that kind of thing. You could probably find this way of thinking in executives, and maybe writers. You could find this level of thinking in. Maybe some really maybe some really diplomatic, you know, situations. You could find people that have this have this kind of skill in. Uh, yeah, you could find it, but this is only a one way to think about life. Uh, but it's kind of under it explains a lot of group dynamics, you know. uh, Group dynamics are much more complex than we end up. Group dynamics is much more complex actually than just the fact that we are all in this group interested in the same thing. For example, if you are or a part of a group that is, for example, a gamer group, you are only thinking about the games that you play, but the fact is that you are united by your orange level spirit spiral. uh, you have to understand that it's not the games that unite you. It's the first of all, it's the technology that unites you. But then what's that built upon? It's built upon like free trade, like um, all kinds of like free trade and business, uh, money systems. Um, like it's built upon the whole mindset that your kind of society is like built upon. So there's a lot of sameness in you, uh, that's why you get along. But you get some like dude from some freaking purple tribe somewhere, and even though he might, learn to play the same video games, you won't probably get along pretty fine, because he's completely different. He has completely different type of like level, like thinking about reality in itself. Yeah, yeah. You could say that the yellow level is kind of like playing the yellow level. It's kind of like playing chess or an strategy game while controlling both of the sides at the same time by yourself, being in control of the both sides of the game. Isn't that what Freemasons are about? They have the checkered board floor. That you understand they are on the both sides of the game. Yeah, or the both sides of society, whatever it is. So they always win. They never lose. That kind of stuff, and uh, it's genius. It challenges the human ego at such a deep level, to rise above its boundaries and maybe transcend itself. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. But I feel that there's more. So if you think about group dynamics, if we ask some questions about group dynamics, then what really unites you in a group? Is it your language? Is it your gender? Is it your habits? What is it? You understand that, for example, what I have said about my culture, it's really that there's a lot of stuff that actually unites me to the people that I'm around. The thing that really separates me from the people that are around are just habits. It's habits. I don't have like certain, like for example, if you work at some place, what unites you to those like work colleagues is the habit of going and working there. That's your uniting thing. But you might not be united in any other way. You might be different religion, you might be different, like whatever, but there's something that unites you. It's the organization, or the whatever you work for. And that's how it unites you. So do you do you really understand the group you are in, and why is it still a group? Why hasn't it just broken down? What's there to keep it a whole? Like for example, like stoners and all, gamers and anime people and like whatever, like sports people. They form these, like, groups. We do the same thing, but what really unites you is this, there are these levels, I throw some like purple level tribe dude to your like soccer team. You won't like the dude if you are orange like country. If you have these values, you won't like the dude even though he might be great at football. And if you are in that situation and you like think that like what's really fucked up in like my life and what's really fucked up in my society, I want you to understand this, and then you can maybe find some better, you know, better people. Because when we are dealing with just, when we are dealing with just the fact if we do the same stuff, then what if we stop doing it? The whole group will just poof, like vanish. And for example, if you think like these ideological groups, what really united, these groups to each other? They were probably these values. What's If you think about business, what's business really about? Like, what's the value behind business? Uh, what's the value behind business? Well, it's a give and take. Give and take. Yeah. And if you think about then, like what other values are, like service. But then again, where does this idea even come from? Well, of course it comes from here. Service doesn't come from here, you know. Like, the idea of service didn't even exist in the purple tribe. They were a fucking tribe. Service only comes through when the ego kind of separates itself from the group and kind of like starts to cater to the group, but in more of an orange type of sense. That's service. And it comes from the blue level, not here. Yeah. And compensation, these kind of things. And the green kind of opens up you to the fact that we are more united than you think. Yeah, and it's compensation. This, you know, competition. This kind of stuff. For example, when you think about artists, I would say that artists probably think like have more green values than purple values. But if you are an artist that only has green values, you won't be very successful. You know, win, lose. This kind of you understand that it's a dualistic, me giving, me taking, me winning, me losing type of mindset. You know, it transcends the me killing, me getting killed society of the red, or me getting eaten by a tiger, me eating a tiger by the purple society. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, it transcends that, and the way it transcends this is through business. Human beings invent a way to survive without this level of habit, because killing is actually also a habit, you know, in these countries. It becomes a habit. It's insane to think, but it's a habit. Like if you think about, for example, some, you know, serial killers, you know, yeah, they just got into the habit of it. It was probably pretty hard at the first time, but then it got easy. That kind of stuff. No, well, how do you then define that if this is like sane or healthy, or uh, like how do you define that this is actually like not insanity, you know, like like is this is orange level insanity, like is red level insanity, or is purple level insanity? Like it's not the way. We call insanity the situation where a person that has been brought up in levels like this descends into these levels and cannot operate, you know. These levels are there. That's insanity, you know. That's very, like, you know, in like for example in insanity, you know, there are these, you know, these power, you know, these power type of, you know, thoughts that go with it. But really, what that is, it's the level of consciousness. You descend into that level. If you take psychedelics, for example, and you gain these kind of ideas and thoughts in yourself, you descend to the red and the purple levels of your consciousness, and nobody around you in your orange society won't understand what is happening, and they are gonna say that you're insane. Even though you might not be insane, you're just descending the levels of consciousness to your subconscious minds. You know? It's understandable, but if you don't have anybody that understands the stuff, you won't get it, you know? But that's descending. What about ascending then? Yeah. So let's talk about that. What about ascending? Well, uh, the yellow level is very hard because it's so heady, you know. Uh, what I mean by this is that if you spot a thinker that is really a yellow level thinker, you kind of go like, whoa, like you kind of marvel at their minds, you know. It's very mind. This is mind, you know. And if this is like more of the heart, this is like more of the heart, and this is the head, you know. This is like rationality, and this is more like belief, and this is, you know, this level of maybe like where the aggression comes, you know, reptilian. This is like reptilian, and this is more this is more how would you call this? For example, if you get into if you get into Satanism, you might experience some purple level Satanists, Wiccans, like ritual magic. If you get into this type of stuff that is really shunned by the mainstream religion, you might experience some purple level states of consciousness. When I kind of did feel like some of this ritual magic stuff, I experienced actually a lot of um, purple level purple level consciousness states. It's possible to gain these states actually through ritual magic. If you don't know about that, read Secret Teachings of All Ages, or maybe the Modern Magic, like the Book of Modern Magic, or maybe Chaos, like what's that, Chaos Magic, or some of these, uh, I'm I'm writing over here Satanist because Satanism can put you into these states, but Satanism is more in its values kind of here. But if you are living in an orange society, Satanism is going to be a really very fucked up experience, I would say, because you yeah I would say that Satanism is not really that desirable thing. You should try to maybe go more to this green level. It would help you with your ego also. And the funny thing is that the higher you go on this, and like the more you ascend, the better it actually is for your ego. But your ego just cannot, like, your ego tries to kind of protect itself. I don't know why, but it tries to kind of protect itself, so you wouldn't experience these states. For example, like this ritual magic stuff, it won't get you anywhere near over this. If you want to get like yellow analytical level, you have to meet some really high level thinkers. You might find these kind of people, maybe in some high class, maybe American universities. Uh, academy maybe doesn't have a lot of this type of people, maybe, but you can find those people probably there. It requires a really clear mind, and if you are thinking about turquoise level over here, it's kind of a mystery. And I said to you that turquoise level societies exist in outer space. There are beings, and this is, yeah, you might not believe in aliens, but there are alien societies actually in outer space that are turquoise level. They have completely, like, they are completely uh, like, they don't have egos, like they don't have that. When you would see this kind of society, you would be floored. you know you would never understand like how it's even possible. And that's the like the hard problem of actually living on planet Earth at the moment, because you would never, like, when you look at your society, you kind of think that this is the way that life is supposed to be lived, but that's not the truth. This is the way that we have figured out with our means that life can be kind of negotiated with, so we don't freaking die. That's the truth. But there are turquoise level societies in outer space. And if you would see one of these, it would completely transform the way you see this society, and it would completely transform the way that you see the whole planet Earth. There's so high level of beings out there. They are so sophisticated, and they are so, like, above us. You meet the smartest guy on your freaking town, he's nothing compared to these beings. Like, these beings are amazingly insanely cool. And if you gain these kind of experiences, you will freaking believe what I said, like holy shit. But the problem is that you probably have to dwell some of into this stuff, some purple magic, if you want to gain those kind of visions from outer space. Yeah. So that's spiral dynamics and group dynamics for you. And I talked in the end. The beings in outer space, do you believe me now? I hope you do. And it's a powerful tool, this, and I actually have not read still books about spiral dynamics. I really have to read those books. I'm going to read those books at some point. But I'm going to say the hour is over, but I'm going to say to you that I'm not really that interested in like changing society, because I kind of realized that like the limitations of human beings in themselves. I'm not interested in that. Yeah, I throw some things like that, but this is kind of this is it's a really complex system that human beings have built, and it's a system, so it's kind of this is orange level people get really into building all kinds of fucking systems, and yeah, it's really freaking weird to live on this fucking planet, like what even is this freaking stuff? I have no fucking idea. But then again, that's the hour for you. Hope you enjoyed it.